All right, guys. This morning, I am excited to talk about optimization. And this word came to me this year because my life has more responsibilities now than it did, a year ago. And so I am constantly thinking about how to optimize because when you guys take a look at your life, how many people feel like they're pulled in a million different directions all the time? It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta uh, take care of myself, right? Like I gotta drink enough water and I gotta move my body and I have to work on my work or my side hobbies or the things that I love, or I'm a mother, or I'm a father, or I'm a caretaker, I'm a spouse, I'm a coworker, right? We're playing all of these roles in our lives, and it's interesting because we all have the same amount of time, right? And how we choose to delegate that time and how we choose to direct our energy is so important. And so when I think of when this opportunity landed on my plate, we had a lot of things going on. David and I, we have three kids under the age of 10. Well, they're 10 and under, but and we have multiple businesses and we've got a lot going on, right? So when I looked at my life, I was like, I don't know if we can fit this. I don't know if we have time to put this on our plate. I don't know if there's room on our plate for this. And instead of having that limiting belief of like, okay, there's not enough time for this, I felt so connected and drawn to the mission and the movement that we have here, of reconnecting people back to a natural approach to their health, that I was like, what do I have to optimize in my life in order to make this happen? And the reality is there's so much optimization that can take place in our lives. Because I'm just a firm believer that nothing can ever get done perfectly because there's just always room for improvement. Anybody else ever believe that? So when I took a look at my life, I'm like, okay, well, there's room for improvement. So why don't I find those areas of improvement so that I can put this on my plate so that I can have another way that I show up of service on this planet. So I'm going to kind of run through some areas of my life that I have learned how to optimize and that have become very helpful in my life so that I can direct my energy into more places and be efficient with it and just have an optimized way of living. All right. So number one, and to be honest with you, the first thing that I named this training was what is distracting you, because I realized that there's so many distractions happening at all times. And the first thing it started with was digital distractions. And this one's interesting because now technology is all in our face. Everything has to get done on this phone, it feels like, or on a computer. And it's interesting because the what they've done to technology, specifically social media, is just turn it into an addiction of dopamine. So it becomes extremely addictive. And it's interesting because also this is a reason why I don't really I don't want my children on social media. I don't want my children on YouTube. I don't want my children on things that are fast paced, because the average human attention has dropped from 12 seconds down to 8 seconds. And I think that it's probably actually even shorter than that, to be honest. But the the apps that we use on our phones, you guys, there's a lot of benefits to them. Of course, we build brands on there and there's really cool information on social media and it can be entertaining. But the reality is, if you had an honest conversation with yourself about how much time you spend on social media scrolling and how much time you kind of zone out on your phone, would it be in balance proportion to the intention or the effort that you're putting into other areas of your life that you probably should be putting effort into? And you have to have that conversation with yourself. And you can swing too far to the other side. I've swung so far to the other side where I don't even use my phone. Like I don't even want to pick my phone up. And then I'm like, okay, well, part of my life is to be social and be on my phone. So I actually need to use it. But you need to find the balance between getting on social media, engaging with people, connecting, having relationships, sharing things. I'm a huge advocate for you guys and going on your social media and sharing your stories. Like shit, not just on your stories, but like sharing your personal story and being transparent and being vulnerable and allowing a space, a container for people to connect with you on your social media. So it's really important that you find the balance. Same thing with TV. It's also it can be extremely draining and it can distract you. Okay, that's why I originally thought of this when I first started creating this training. I was like, oh my gosh, what are all the distracting things that are happening that keep us from reaching our fullest potential? So I like to replace certain things in my day, certain times in my day without having technology. Like if you come to dinner with me, I will most likely not have my phone at dinner. If there and there's just other pockets throughout the day that I just put my phone down and I'm like, I can't have it. And also overstimulation is a real thing. Anybody ever experience overstimulation? That's a real thing. And when things are coming at us at all different angles all day, and then our phone and people and noise and it's a lot. And it's really important for you to find your center. So it's also I'm a huge advocate for taking time. I'm a Gemini too. I'm a huge advocate for taking time. Thank you. Throughout the day. David just brought me my collagen Vital Pro. I'm a huge advocate for taking time in your day to meditate and to do grounding and to be in nature and to digital detox. This has to happen. Okay. This is like if you do not want to lose your center, right? Because there's a space and I don't, and that this is going to tie into another one, but so I don't want to go too far, but like in order for you to engage and respond to the world around you, because we don't want to be reactionary, right? We want to be responders. So in order for you to respond to the world around you appropriately in your highest self, you have to be centered, okay? And if you are not in your center, if you have not cultivated a center that you can go to and safely operate from, then you are going to be very upset with the reactions that you've created and the outcomes that you've created in your life. So, and that starts from you digitally detoxing and creating a space where you're not overstimulated and you've got stuff coming at you all the time. Okay, I'm a huge advocate for this. Next thing that's super distracting, you guys, and we got to optimize and focus on is our limiting beliefs. And it's just important that you don't get too caught up in like, woe is me about my limiting beliefs. Like, I don't care what someone's brain says. I don't care what my brain says. Like, I'll give you an example. I grew up in a family that talked about body image all the time. And they talked about not our body image, but they talked about everyone else's body image. Okay. So my my grandma used to be like, that person is homely, which really just means ugly. Like, oh, they shouldn't be wearing that and they shouldn't, well, why did they wear that or why do they look like that or they're not attractive? Like, and I didn't know that that was weird. So when I got older, I was a wedding planner, so I was around a lot of people. My brain would automatically just say things. And I remember being like, that was not nice. Like, why did you say that? Oh, shh. And I didn't know that I wasn't my thoughts, but I remember hearing the thought and not feeling aligned with it. But I didn't know, like now I know that I'm not my thoughts. Everybody here know that you're not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts, right? You have a brain, but you're not your brain. So I remember just not feeling aligned with the thoughts that would pop up. And I was like, that's not right. So now I know that I'm not my thoughts. And I also know that by the age of 7, 8 years old, a lot of our core beliefs and the way that our brain functions, programs that have been installed, and we kind of operate from that place. So really, as an adult, like don't be so hard on yourself for what's been installed. That's not the problem. What's been installed is not the problem. What is important is that you are conscious enough to identify what's been installed and what needs to be uninstalled and reinstalled. That's your job. And if you don't take responsibility for the work now, that's where the pickle is. Okay. It's not what's been installed. It's like, oh wow, that got installed when I was young or at whatever point in time. And you don't even have to go try to pinpoint it. I know when that got installed for me, but you don't have to go search for it. It really doesn't matter. The fact is if it's there, it's installed, you don't like it, you don't want it, it's just time to reinstall it. That's all we have to focus our energy on. Okay. So And it's important to know that because your brain is capable of neuroplasticity. So this allows your brain to rewire through repetition, through visualization, through certain types of like emotional programming. And I'm a huge fan of visualization for one. So if you find yourself, if you're like, oh, I'm just not great at blank, or I just don't like blank, but you want to like these things or you want to be good at these things in order to get the outcome that you're trying to get, you just visualize it. Just rewire your brain to see something different because your brain doesn't know the difference between something that you've imagined versus something that's happening. As long as you're very detailed with it and you can recreate and you can create emotions to support whatever it is that you're visualizing. So, like, I'll give you an example. I was not planning to be a mom in this life, okay? And so I never really wanted to be a mom. I know probably unpopular opinion, but it wasn't my plan. But my husband has 5 kids. So when I fell in love with David, guess what? I had to either not be with David or be with David and be a mom. And so I felt so strongly about my relationship with David that again, here I was that I was like, all right, well, let me replace some old programming because I got programmed to not be a mom as a kid. So I was like, okay, let me replace some old programming and work on this. But I had some like serious struggles, you guys, being told my whole life that children are burdens and being grown, raised in a family where I was a burden and then trying to be a mom, like it was really hard. And so I knew that that wasn't what I wanted to feel, and I knew that that wasn't programming that I wanted to continue to have in my mind. And so there was times that I didn't show up my best as a parent, and I love Daniel West that you shared so vulnerably on that before because there's definitely times that I did not show up as my best, and makes me emotional thinking about it too. It's so interesting how kids do that to us. They pull the most tender pieces of us, but. So instead of me being like, oh my gosh, I suck as a mom, I shouldn't be doing this, I was like, okay, well, let me do some visualization. And so I would replay things in my head that would just trigger me, that would just drive me crazy that my kids would do. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna visualize them doing the same thing and me having a different response to how I'm showing up. And I'm gonna do that before they come over. So like the week up to them coming, because they come on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the week up to them coming, I would spend five minutes in the morning. Doesn't have to be a crazy amount of time, guys, to do some visualization. 5 minutes, and I would just think of the thing that I wanted to happen the way that I wanted it to happen, not the way that it had been playing out. And then I would feel the emotions, and I would feel joy, and I would be like, wow, this is great, and this is creating a space of connection, and we're happy, and we're hugging, and we're laughing instead of like, so. And it worked. So I want you guys to know that you can do that in any area of your life. If you're scared of contacting people, if you're scared of I mean anything that you don't feel like you're good at, you can visualize it and get better. The greatest athletes on our planet actually do this before they go into games, before they go into matches, whatever it is whatever athlete they are, they can actually visualize themselves. So it's just really important that you guys use certain techniques to be able to um, evolve and to be able to optimize your being. One thing that I really love also is affirmations and creating affirmations that are based on an identity that you want to have. Like I am a grounded communicator. One that I use all the time is I am a conscious leader because I believe that there's nothing more important on this entire planet than consciousness. The more conscious you can become will would dramatically change this planet if we were just conscious. So creating affirmations that you can connect to and you can reaffirm, because again, if you're trying to train your body and you're trying to train your mind, because the interesting thing is the body also memorizes emotions. So if you've been trained and programmed from a young age to, like for me, I was really programmed into fear. Like I lived in fear from the moment I was pretty much born up until I was 12 years old. That's just how my childhood was. It was never stable. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of movement. There was just a lot of fear. So even when I met David, I told David, David, my homeostasis feeling, like the feeling that my body is the most comfortable in, is fear. And at the time I just claimed it like, yep, this is how it is, and this is what we're working with. And now I don't have that same, I actually don't have fear like that anymore. I'm actually like the most security that I've ever found is realizing that everything is completely unstable and everything's going to change and there's actually nothing that's going to stay the same. So I'm like, well, anytime anything happens, I'm like, there's nothing to be afraid of because there's nothing to predict, there's nothing to know, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to assume. An asteroid could come hit the planet right this moment. Like there's no such thing as real safety and security anyway. So that's how I kind of evolved with that. But as a side tangent. So it's just important for you to have be clear on what state it is that you live in. The one that you kind of like default to. And if you don't like that state, then understanding that the body memorizes emotions. So even if you want to consciously get out of an emotion, your body will start recreating experiences to pull you back into an emotion that it has already felt, that it's used to feeling because it's comfortable there, because that's what it knows. And so that's fine. Again, don't be all hard on yourself about it. Just like, oh wow, I don't want to be there. In order for me to get to where I want to go, right? Because I hope you guys all have goals. Do you guys have goals? Do you guys write them out? Do you guys look at them? Do you guys visualize them? Do you talk about them? Do you take steps every single day to get closer to them? I love talking about goals and then backstepping them. Like, where do I want to go? And then based off the where you want to go is, okay, what is it going to take to get there, right? So if you have these goals and you have these visions and you have these places you want to go, but you're blocking yourself from getting there, you need to become clear on that so that you can start reprogramming and reframing and rewiring to get to where you want to go. Okay. I want you guys to really have fun with being a human. Like, enjoy this experience. Like, this is all trial and error. This is all experimentation. This is all curiosity. Where can I take this thing? Like, where can I take this human experience? How conscious can I become? How flexible can I become? How fun can I become? How intelligent and how great of a communicator can I become? Like, have fun with this. Like, there's no point in being here, you guys, if you're not going to have a good time. Like, for real. Like, because you can have the service and you can have contribution, you can have all those things, but if you're not going to enjoy it at the same time, like, you have to have a good time while you're here. All right. Number 3 is other people's opinions. And I get it, you guys, if you really look back on how the world used to work, where everything was tribal, like we were all together. And so it was really important because when we weren't uh when there was a problem in the tribe and you were ostracized, like, that's not good. Okay. But we don't really live in a world like that anymore. It's very different now. And it's important to know how distracting other people's opinions can be. Okay. And to be honest with you, if you want to be a high functioning, high impact human, other people's opinions, just accepting that other people's opinions and other people's thoughts will just they're just going to do nothing but exhaust you and distract you. So it's like, okay, when other people's opinions come in, you just have to get really good at knowing a couple of things. Like, one, if somebody has an opinion, first get clear on whose opinions you really care about. Like, I really only care about my husband's opinion, my best friend's opinion, and my mom's opinion. These are people that I trust. These are people that I know that have their deepest, most invested well interest in me. And those are really the only people's opinions that I'll entertain. Anybody else, I'm like, thanks, I appreciate you, but you don't know me. Like, you don't know me. And so you can't, you can only speak from your own filter, which is really important to understand, because anybody's opinions are only coming from their own programming, and your programming and their programming and anyone else's programming on this entire planet will never, ever, 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 ever be the same. Even your twin sister that you grew up with, your programming will never be the same. So trying to compare programs is like, it's silly. So it doesn't even make any sense. So logically, if you want to look at other people's opinions from a logical standpoint, there's your logical standpoint of how to look on of how to look at that. So sometimes you just need to also think too that if you really care so much about someone else's opinion, it might be that you're trying to outsource something that you're getting from what they're saying. Like, am I trying to get love from this person or safety from this person or validation from this person? And then how can I source that within instead of needing it from an external source? Because at the end of the day, everything has to get sourced within. Like, uh, I was gonna make a funny joke about like America right now is trying to source everything within, but like it, within yourself, it's important that you source all of the feelings, all of the emotions, all of the happiness, all of the joy. It has to come from within first in order for it to really be pure to give out. Because if you're always trying to outsource it, then it's not ever pure because you're always trying to get something from somewhere else in order to fill your own space. But if you can fill your own cup through your own safety, your own validation, your own love, your own joy, your own everything, then you have it to actually share. Otherwise, you're in if it's not coming from you, you're actually taking. Okay, so this is a deep conversation. I'm not going to go any deeper than that, but it's just really important that you guys have those conversations with yourself. You guys always have to be having conversations with yourself. My favorite person to talk to ever is me. Like, I love talking to me. You have to really enjoy and love talking to you. And this is a relationship that you're going to build, you guys. Life is about relationships, not just with another human, but your relationship to yourself, your relationship with food, your relationship to movement, your relationship to God, your relationship to blank, 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 blank. Like all the relationships that you have to everything in this whole existence and your relationship to yourself. My God, my relationship to God comes first. My relationship to me is second. Okay. So it's really important that you guys hone that relationship and nurture it because again, it's going to take time to build a great relationship with you. I did not always have a great relationship with myself. I actually used to I used to have a terrible relationship with myself. Okay. So it takes time to evolve and to evolve that. All right. Lack of systems. I love systems, you guys. I'm a projector in human design. So if anybody understands what that means, then awesome. If you don't, I love systems. I love optimizing systems. I love creating systems. I love efficiency. That's like, at one point, I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Maybe I'll just be an efficiency expert. Like, I'll go into someone's life and be like, I can make you more efficient because I just truly enjoy it so much. So, it's important for you again, and it's going back to what we were talking about where you have goals. Drop a 2 in the chat if you have big goals for your life. If you have goals and you have visions and you have dreams of your future, drop a 2 in the chat if you do. It is important, okay, that you understand that your participation, your active participation in your goals and dreams are the only way that you're going to get there, right? And that can come from so many different ways. Like I'm a big believer in visualization and manifestation and pulling things out of the quantum field because I believe that that's possible. But on the other end of that is also doing some of the doing. Like you can be the being as well. There's a blend of the doing and the being that needs to come into it needs to come in together. It's like it's similar to how the ego relationship and the your consciousness have a relationship. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's actually how the relationship comes together. So in existence to your being, you also have to do. And so having the list of those goals and the dreams that you want, and then again, backtracking them. So again, for me, the most important thing on this planet for me is to become more conscious. So every morning, David and I wake up and we spend anywhere from an hour to an hour and 40 minutes doing meditation, doing visualization, doing yoga, doing things that bring our energy to a place that can allow us to evolve to become more conscious. Then we go to the gym. We drink our shake. We nourish ourselves. Every single day, I make sure that I get time in the sun. I make sure that I'm around nature. I make sure that I am in arm's distance of a tree. Like these are things that are vital for me. And you have to think about this as well. I make sure that I go through my emails. I check my messages. I check, like there's systems that I have in place, and they're all actually one thing that I do, you guys, is Trello. I put everything that I need to do in Trello. Okay, if you're familiar with Trello, there's it's an app, and you can create boards, right? So I have a to-do list, and then next to the to-do list, I have another board that says today. So I put everything that needs to happen on my to-do list. So anytime it pops up in my mind, I'm like, oh, I got to go add that to the to-do list. Oh, I got to go add that to the to-do list. And I'll go add it to my to-do list. And then the night before, I'll look at what's on my to-do list and I'll drag over what needs to happen the next day on the today section. And then I'll take a look at my Google Calendar and I will look at the next day and I will fill in what has to happen on my actual calendar. So I have the to-do list, I have my Google Calendar, everything is time blocked. I have everything time blocked down to the times that I eat during the day, the time that I wake up, the time that I practice my little Spanish app that I do in the mornings. Everything gets put on the calendar. Otherwise, you guys, I've done it the other way. I've literally done it the other way where I've tried to be like, oh, let me like just try to feel into it and remember everything. There's too much. It doesn't work. It's not efficient. Things get left off. It just doesn't, things get left off. And again, we're in a place in our lives, you guys, that I'm talking to leaders and I'm talking to people who want to go out and do big things and want to be change makers and want to hit their goals and dreams. So I'm telling you, organize your life, create more systems. Habit stacking is a great thing. You know, I know that every single morning I wake up, I do my Duolingo first, a nice little healthy dopamine boost, adding to I'm trying to learn Spanish. I got like 600 days I'm about to hit in like 2 days, which is exciting. And then after that, I come straight into my meditation. After that, I go straight into my taking my supplements and drinking my drink. Like I have a specific flow of how I do things. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys have time blocking in your life, and you use apps like Trello, and also Google Calendar is the bomb.com. And just one step up on that Google Calendar, if you have a spouse and they're also on a Google Calendar, like David and I's schedules are interesting because we do everything together. So we work together, we meditate together, we work out together, like we do everything together. So but you can color code things. So you can have your calendar, your spouse's calendar, and you can see it all. So you guys can work more as a team, especially if there's kids involved, right? Because you're picking kids up, you're dropping them off, you're doing all that fun stuff. Okay. The next thing that is super distracting is unprocessed emotions. Okay, that's why I didn't want to get too deep in it up above, but um you guys, it's one thing that I want you guys to do is I want you to take a look at your life and think and be like, what is an event that has happened in my life? What's something that's happened? What's that I'm still holding on to? And then think of the narrative that comes from that event. Think of the story that has been created from that event. And because if it's something that's still popping up and you think about regularly, so you're going to have to do a little bit of and you might not, for some of you, something will come to mind immediately. Drop a 3 in the chat. Drop a 3 in the chat if something comes up immediately that you're like, that still pops up. I still think about it. And when I think about it, I still feel it. And there's emotions that come in from it. Those experiences that happen to you, I just want you to know that they were not given to you for you to suffer. They weren't given to you because you deserved them. They weren't given to you because you're not worthy. They weren't given to you because, you know, you're not worthy of happiness or great experiences. You're you were whatever experience you were given was put, and this is just what I believe, was put into our experience to give us an opportunity to evolve. That's truly and evolving can come from having a new perspective on life. Evolving can come from us taking our pain and going and turning it into purpose. Um, there's I believe that that's the most empowering way to look at the most challenging, hardest experiences we've ever had in our life is our ability to create alchemy. Like I feel so strongly in that because you guys, I lost my connection to God when I was about 13 or 14 because because I had been sexually abused at 5 years old and I grew up in a lot of violence and some things happened with my parents where they kind of abandoned me a little bit and I was really upset about it and I was like of course and so I was like well if there was God why would God ever let something happen to me so I don't believe in God because God would never have let those things happen to me if that was the case and I don't believe that anymore I don't agree with that version of me that felt and thought that way I actually believe that everything I've experienced was given as an opportunity for me to become a greater human being and for me to evolve and turn my pain into purpose and turn everything into wisdom. And I have now, and it has changed my life. And so I just want to grant you that permission to not to release the hold that these experiences have had on you and how can you take what you've experienced and go out and make the world a greater place because you've experienced it. You have to look at it like that. Otherwise we will just wallow in our victimhood, we'll wallow in our pain and we'll stay stuck in a disempowering state that because thoughts create emotions and emotions if back to back to back to back over time right because those thoughts keep popping in will eventually create a state and when you live in a certain state and your body has memorized these emotions, like mine was fear, right? So when you've memorized these certain emotions and your body stays stuck in these emotions, it's only going to attract situations that are magnetic or that are matching the frequency of the state that you're in. Does that make sense? Because everything on this planet is energy. So if you're vibrating, and this isn't like when people say that, like this is a fact. Like everything is energy. Everything has its own vibrational frequency. So you have to know what your frequency is. Like you have to be conscious enough to be like, oh wow, what state am I in? Okay, based off of the state that I'm in, wow, I'm in this state a lot. Maybe I don't want to be in this state because this state is vibrating at probably not the highest frequency and I want to attract this thing, which is vibrating and probably at a really high frequency, right? Because your goals and dreams are probably super awesome. And the state maybe that your body has memorized is not the magnetic match to where you're trying to go. So that's not going to connect. That's not going to happen. Okay. So this is where your being has to also blend in with the doing. Like the doing is the systems and this doing is the being organized, but the being is also knowing what your state is and knowing what your frequency is so that you can also magnetically match this. And so I think it's interesting how super complex and complicated this whole human experience is. It's like layers of stuff, like and I find so much uh, I find so much I'm fascinated by how complex this whole thing is and yeah it's very interesting so you guys it's important for you to process emotions. And here's one thing that I love, and I teach this if you guys come to any of our lives, I'll teach you guys tapping. I'm a huge fan of tapping. I'm also a fan of different styles of breathing. But that's something that you've got to be really trained in on, and you've got to work with somebody that really knows what they're doing when it comes to breathing, because depending on what you're doing with your breath, you can shift into certain states, and that one's requires a little bit more experience. But just tapping is so simple. And look up EFT tapping. And what's cool about tapping is this was something that helped me and David as well because here's another experience where two people were coming in with two completely different types of programming. David was 38 years old when we got together. I was 29, 30 years old when we got together, but we had very different past experiences. And so coming together, there was moments that were really hard for us. And we've cultivated an incredible relationship over the last 6 years. That's my very best friend on this entire planet. He's my favorite person to do life with. But there was a lot of like challenging times, and I remember through some of those challenging moments that I had to start tapping because I was so dysregulated from the way that I was raised around males. I was so dysregulated around males, that it was I had to regulate myself, because for a while I was expecting him to regulate me, and I was like, I need you to help regulate my state. And I realized that the it's no one else's job to regulate me. Like, that is my job. I have to be in full control of my body at all times. And so I started tapping. I was so desperate that I was like, I have to figure something out, because I was the anxious attachment, and David was the avoidant attachment. So those are the worst two to come together. They're the hardest two, not the worst, but they're the hardest two, because again, I was seeking regulation, like help me regulate, and he was like, I don't know how to help someone regulate. So I learned how to regulate myself, and I learned how to do it through tapping. And so when I would get dysregulated, I would just start tapping, and I felt my body calm down, and I started yawning, which is a really good, that's a good sign. That means that you're processing emotions. And so I would feel my body start to calm down, and then I could go and approach him and actually have a conversation where I could respond and like interact without like getting to the point where I was dysregulated again. So that was something that completely changed my quality of life and my quality of relationship, was being able to regulate myself. And so I can't really keep talking to you guys because this is going to be two trainings pretty much. This is going to have to be two trainings because I have a bunch more and we'll be on here for an hour. So I just want to close this out and say that part two will be coming next time I speak. So if this was helpful for you, then wonderful. These are the things that I absolutely just love speaking on, because in order for us to go out and just go be the blessings on this planet that we're meant to be. Like, we are meant to have an interdependent relationship on this planet. We're meant to connect with people. We're meant to bring our gifts and our talents and our passions and our joys. And we're meant to go out there and bring all of our goodness out there. And we block ourselves. So we block ourselves from not being conscious. We block ourselves from disempowering programming that was installed in us before we ever even knew, and we don't even have the consciousness. It's not a like it's just a we don't know. Like, for a long time, again, I didn't know. I wasn't my mind. I had no idea. I thought whatever it said was true. And I just did a post on this yesterday. But being able to act, even though your mind is still saying something, sometimes you don't even have to fight with it and try to change it or whatever. You just have to not agree with it and make a decision that goes over here. Just because it says it doesn't mean that it's true. Okay, you have to remember that. And so that's what I love teaching, because in order for us to go be the greatest change makers on this planet, which is what we all want. I know who I'm talking to right now. I know my audience right now. You guys know the assignment, okay? In order for us to go out and do that, we have to work on our consciousness, and we have to work on um reprogramming and uninstalling, reprogramming. And we can do it, you guys. We can do it at any time. We can do it at 25 years old, 30 years old, 80 years old. It doesn't matter. We can do it at any point. So we're together, and that's the best part too. We get to do this together. So we're a team. All right, part two coming up next time I speak. I don't know when that's going to be, but I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys today, and I hope you have an amazing, amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon.